Welcome, everyone, to episode 85 of the RDH Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chad. Joined alongside me is my brother, Tanner. How's it hanging on this fine Friday, dude?
It's going well. I've been honestly taken back by the amount of sports that we've had this month, and the playoffs for the NHL and the NBA haven't even started. But hey, we got you right before they're started, so that those first round matchups come out, and you're just like, RDH Sports, I know exactly what's about to happen.
There you go. There you go. Tanner nailed it. For those that aren't on YouTube and on Spotify, we're hitting NHL playoff matchups, NBA playoff matchups, and then a little bit of Champions League matchups. Tanner and I are just going to pick who we think is going to win each series. It's going to be a little bit quicker, and then next week, we are doing our final mock draft of the season. So tune in next week for that one. So no football talk this week, but next week it's all football talk because, like Tanner said, April is a massive sports month. We already had the Masters winner. Congrats to Rory. You know what I mean? The UFC fights were absolutely insane. Volkanovski, here we go. Patty the Batty, let's go. And not like you said, not to mention so many more playoff matchups that we're about to get into. And let's get into it. The NHL playoff matchups, we're going to start on the West. The number one Winnipeg Jets go against the St. Louis Blues. That's horrible that you win the President's Trophy and have to go against a Blues team that's won, I think 11 or 12 in a row. You know what I mean? Like the Blues are just on an absolute heater. But the Winnipeg Jets are picked to win the series. This one's I want Winnipeg to win because I want to see them have success, but we'll see what happens. President's Trophy winners don't necessarily ever win the Stanley Cup and usually get bounced very early. So we'll see what happens. But I got Winnipeg in this one. Who do you got in Winnipeg and the Blues, man? Because the Blues are a good team.
Blues are a very good team, but I think Winnipeg, they've got, like you were kind of saying, we talked about this team. They got the best keeper in the league, and I just can't pick against that. And I got Winnipeg, like you said, President's Trophy. They're the best team in the West. They went up against the Stars, and that was kind of like, okay, let's see kind of where this team is at, and they absolutely demolished them. And so I think that they've really gotten to a groove kind of late in the season and have really been playing really good hockey and almost have kind of gotten even better towards this back really part end of the season. So you want to see that kind of momentum going into the playoffs, right? If you're number one overall seed in a conference, right? You don't want to have those doubts towards the end of the year. So I think they're just ready to go, and obviously they've been here before, so in very recent memory. So I think it's going to be tough. St. Louis is going to be a tough series, but I still got them. I still got Winnipeg. I think they're the best team in the conference for a reason. I don't think they just get pounced first round. I'd be very surprised. I'd be genuinely very surprised.
Well, the best team in the league, believe it or not, with the freaking President's Trophy, technically. You know what I mean? But yeah, you nailed it. Connor Hellebuck is 100% the factor in this series. And what's interesting with Connor Hellebuck is if you go back and you look at his playoff series, he's not been very great. So it's going to be interesting with what Winnipeg does. But Winnipeg has a lot of firepower, and I'm not sure the Blues are going to be able to match that firepower. So that's why we're both going that's why we're both going Jets. Do you think this series is gonna last a while? Like, do you think it's going to go Game 7? For me personally, I got it going. I'm gonna go game 6. Do you think it goes 7, or do you think it goes a little bit less than that?
I'll be confident based on my pick. I'll go Game 5.
There you go. That's what we like to see when we started off. All right, next series in the Western Conference. I do have the hat, the team that I'm repping this playoffs, but unfortunately, we got the Stars, we got the Avalanche. And why I say unfortunately is because if you're a Dallas Stars fan, you're already down Miro Heiskanen, and now you're down Jason Robertson, who is now week to week toward the end of the season, which is very tough. Right before the day before playoffs, you get that news. If Dallas had Heiskanen, and Robertson coming in, and everybody was flying 100%, Tyler Seguin's back, but those other two aren't. For me, man, I got to go Colorado, and I don't even think it's going to go 7 because I think that's how big of a player both those guys are. I know that Heiskanen is projected to be back potentially toward the end of the series, but I'm going to go 6 games, and I'm going to go Avalanche in 6 games, and I really, really hope I'm wrong. And Cale Makar is the best defenseman in the world, and Nathan MacKinnon in the playoffs is another beast. And oh, by the way, the Colorado Avalanche have Gabriel Landeskog coming back because he played for the AHL, and he's going to be jumping into the squad now. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to see. What do you got on this series? You going Stars? Or you going Avs?
I gotta go Stars. I'm gonna go my boys pretty much every single time, and I think we'll say go 7, right? I think that's kind of the only way the Stars win. Or, let's say Heiskanen comes back and has an absolute heater on defense again. Like he just comes back and the team has just got revitalized energy. But I think, if out of all like the teams in the NHL for these kind of injuries to happen to late season, the Stars aren't the worst, for it to be happening to, right? Based on kind of they've got a lot of depth, like where nobody's talking about Wyatt Johnston, nobody's talking about, like they're going out and getting Rantanen, Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn, these guys are going to be in the series, right? So it's going to take a world of effort, that much is very true. Obviously, Avalanche, very good team, and they've got some of the best players in the world. You can say at a lot of positions, right? So it's going to be a tough series, but I think that depth will kind of give Dallas a little bit of an edge. They haven't been playing well, kind of coming into this series, so maybe that's going to be kind of a chip on their shoulder. But I think they're going to kind of rally behind it and be like, okay, what's going on, right? I think kind of in that face of adversity, you can kind of find a little bit of a companionship and camaraderie and things like that. So I think they're going to kind of band behind that, and hopefully you see some of these depth guys starting to play like they were kind of mid-season form. Especially Wyatt Johnston. I think he's going to be the key piece for the Dallas Stars in this series because he's their most prolific goal scorer behind Jason Robertson, in my opinion, and I think it's a pretty close conversation. So obviously Robertson. Don't think he's going to be available for the series. If he is, like you said, it's going to be in the later. Same with Heiskanen. So it's going to be a lot. They got to win games early. I think if they can steal a game here or there, early on in the series, I think it's going to be monumental, right? And I think Dallas, and if I'm not mistaken, they get home field. They get home field advantage, right? Yeah, because they're the upper seed on this one. So if it does go to Game 7, it's going to be in Dallas, right? So that's good. And hopefully towards the end of the series, that's kind of what you're hoping for. So kind of interesting, but yeah, I'm going to go Dallas in 7. I not super confident, but I got to pick my boys, and I still think they got a lot of potential and a lot of good firepower on that team. And I haven't even mentioned Ottinger. If he gets on a heater going in the playoffs, you say it every year, then that can win you a Stanley Cup, right? So it's just this first round matchup. Nobody wanted it to happen. If you're a Dallas fan or a Colorado fan for that matter. I guess they didn't really have a choice. I guess this is probably what they would have preferred instead of Winnipeg, but Colorado's kind of gearing up for a hell of a series, and hopefully Dallas will be in there too.
And you nailed it. If Ottinger gets hot, it's going to be very interesting. And if he can steal a couple, then that's all you need. And Colorado is picked to win this series. But I mean, Colorado's a team that's been there, done that. Dallas has been to the same spot pretty much every time in the playoffs recently, and just hasn't gotten over that hump. And those injuries for me, man, it's just too much. So essentially, we have the Jets going on. I have the Jets going on and playing against the Avalanche the next round. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to take the Avalanche over the Jets.
Wow.
That next one, and I'm gonna go that one. I think it's going to be a brutal series as well. So I'm going to go that one 7 games. But who do you have in your next series between the Stars and the Winnipeg Jets? Would you be leaning on the Stars again, or do you think that that's kind of when the luck runs out? Because for me, if I'm you, man, if I pick the Stars, like that's the point where Jason Robertson could come back. You do say week to week. In hockey, that's not the same in NFL. And hockey usually week to week means like month to month. So we'll see what happens. But what do you think would happen in that next series hypothetically between the Stars and the Winnipeg Jets, and how many games?
I don't think it's going to matter if Jason Robertson comes back. I'd love to pick the Stars in this game, but given how they played recently, like you said, with the injuries, a lot of things kind of have to go right in order for them to even get to this spot. So a lot of things got to go right for them to even win the secondary series, right? They have the toughest road to the cup, in my opinion, and you look at it and it's like, this is ridiculous. So I gotta pick Winnipeg. I love Dallas. I'll give them a series, and I think that would be that. That's probably more than I think they might get. But Winnipeg is good. Like I was saying, for the exact same reasons. Like I think Hellebuck is playing at an all time level, and it's just you saw these two teams play at the end of the season, and Winnipeg absolutely destroyed them, and it wasn't even close. It was like an absolute thrashing. It's not that Dallas didn't play well. It's just that. Defensively, I think Winnipeg is a fantastic team. So it's going to be hard to get for anyone really to get past that defense with Hellebuck back there, and obviously they're just going on a heater right now. So I just can't pick against them. I'm gonna, we'll see what happens. Maybe we got some secondary opinions coming in, and whenever these first round matchups come out, but I'd love to see how they play against the Blues. I think Winnipeg's the better team. So if they don't play a good series, then that could absolutely open the door for Colorado in that second round. And if I mean Colorado, whoever comes off of this Dallas and Colorado series is either going to be absolutely exhausted or absolutely ready for this next series. So I think if Colorado ends up winning that, and it's a quick one, that's going to give them a lot of confidence, and I think that could absolutely propel them over Winnipeg. But I still got Winnipeg, man. I think they're a really, really good team.
Okay, so Winnipeg as well. Do you have that series going in the second round?
7. It's
I'm
gotta be.
assuming a
It's
later game series,
yeah.
right?
It's got to be 7. There's no way it's not.
Yeah, I was about to say there's absolutely no way that there's more than that. Okay, so then back to the first round matchups. We've got the Golden Knights versus the Minnesota Wild. Look, the Minnesota Wild have a team that has some skill guys on there with Kirill Kaprizov, who's pretty nasty and can absolutely take over games. But Vegas just suffocates you,
They're so
and
good.
they just look so big on the ice, and like they know playoff hockey. And also, when it comes to Vegas, it's like their coach could be the best coach in the league, and they can him, and then they go and win the Stanley Cup. Like Vegas does not mess around. So for me, I think I'm going to go Vegas on this one. I actually don't see this one going 7 games. I see this going 5 games, maximum 6 games. Who do you have with Vegas? There we go, nailed it. And the Wild.
I still got Vegas. I mean, they've just been here. They've done that the last couple of years. It seems like they're kind of going at it one more time for another run. So it's going to be interesting to see kind of how they play through the playoffs. I know it's kind of been up and down, but like I like Vegas. I like this Vegas team. We've seen them win very recently, and we've seen them get uh, to like over the course of multiple years win. Not necessarily win the cup every year, but they're they're playing very well each and every time. So I like Minnesota. I will definitely be watching this matchup because it's you got a wild card team versus a division winner, right? And it's just kind of one of those. All right, let's see what that lower seeded team can do. Kind of that underdog status. I'd like to see what they can do in this. Like you said, Kaprizov is just an absolute man on a mission. So, but I think I think Vegas's entire team is just like I just can't pick him as a first round exit. I can't. They just have that pedigree. They have that that ability to go far in the playoffs pretty much any time they sniff it. So it's like give me Vegas, and I'll say 5. I'll go with you. Maybe actually no. Let's go sweep. Let's go sweep. I don't know if we're gonna get any sweeps because these series are always let's get a sweep going. Vegas
The,
4.
the first round in the NHL playoffs is like you have a gauntlet, and then it's kind of like you have the second round you have some matchups that aren't necessarily going to be the best. But this year, that's a completely different story. Right now, if the Blues go out and beat the Jets, I mean, Stars versus Stars, Jets, Avalanche, Jets, I think that's going to be a good series. But if the Blues go do it, then it's like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or if the Wild beat Vegas, it's like, nah, like King. Then you got the next series, and we're going to talk about the Kings beat the Oilers. It's kind of But I'm right there with you. I think Vegas is just a team that you just don't see a first round exit coming from Vegas. And the only reason you see a first round exit coming from the Stars or the Avalanche is because they're playing each other, right? Those teams are so good. This is an interesting series. I'm really interested to see where you lean. The Los Angeles Kings versus the Edmonton Oilers. The Los Angeles Kings are actually favored to win this series, believe it or not, on ESPN. The least amount out of the favorites in the West. This is the last Western Conference matchup. But the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are supposedly back at full health, but they don't have their defenseman, if I'm not mistaken, with Bouchard. And then the Los Angeles Kings have lost 5 home games the entire season at home. Let me real quick. You get 2 to 3 home games, maximum 3 home games a series, right? Like you lost 5 all year. There was like 40 games, right? Like 30 something games, 40 games, like there were home games. Like that's absurd. That's absurd, right? So for me, this is the year that I think if LA does it, they're going to do it. But how do you pick against Connor McDavid, who is fresh? And you saw him when he came back and played. It was like, oh my God. Who let the varsity kid go out and practice with the JV team? You know what I mean? Like that's literally what it looked like when McDavid came back. And Leon Draisaitl had 50 goals this year. So I'm going to go with the firepower of those two. It's going to be 7 games in my opinion. And if you get to game 7 in the Stanley Cup playoffs, anything can happen. But I'm going to go game 7 and I'm going to go the Oilers in this one. But I'm not confident at all. So I've got the Edmonton Oilers beating the Kings in 7. I've got the Golden Knights beating the Wild in 5. and then it goes Golden Knights versus the Oilers in the second round, and that would be so sick. But I'm gonna have that one go 7. I'm gonna say screw it, and I'm gonna have I think the Golden Knights taking out Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl because I think the Golden Knights would be the perfect team. And the Kings are big, but Vegas I think is a little bit bigger than the Kings. So that's kind of where I would go, and then we'll wait for our conference final matchup because technically my conference final matchup would have then been the Avalanche and or the Jets versus the Golden Knights. So we'll get into that a little bit later because we're jumping ahead of ourselves here, but. Who do you have versus the Kings and the Oilers?
This is tough, man. You know, because you look at kind of history in this matchup, and I think it would probably favor the Kings, right? Just in an unfortunate fashion, you know, for the Edmonton Oilers, right? So I don't want. I think there's kind of a monkey on the back here. I think Edmonton kind of has a little bit of a monkey on the back, considering what happened last year at the end of the playoffs. They make the cup, they don't win it. You know, McJesus is denied. So I'm going to go Edmonton here. I think they, like you said, Connor McDavid, he's coming back. Draisaitl's having a fantastic season. It's just kind of hard to pick against Edmonton here in this spot because it's like another one of those teams with Vegas. You expect them to go far. They have so much talent. They have all this, you know, culture of going far in the playoffs, right? Like I said, last season is a good example. If they play anywhere near the level that they played during the conference, any of the conference rounds last year, this team makes it to the conference finals easily, I think. So I have to pick Edmonton here, but like you said, I think LA could play spoiler. And I think that's kind of what they like to do best. So it's really terrifying in this matchup if you are an Edmonton fan. It's just like, it's just in your brain. You know what I mean? Because it's just happened multiple times at this point, right? So you a first round exit again to LA again, you know? So I got Edmonton.
Against the Oilers.
Exactly.
Again,
that's
what
I'm saying.
Like 40 years.
Give me Edmonton. I think this one's going 7 though. I think this one's just gonna be I think it's gonna be an ugly series. I don't think it's gonna be like, you know, finesse and stuff like that. I think we're gonna get some nasty goals, just a lot of physical play as well. And I think it's just gonna be balls to the wall the entire time. It's just gonna be pure entertainment and chaos, I think.
Entertainment and chaos. Can't wait for it. That's what playoff hockey brings. So I'm going to preview or recap my Western Conference picks real quick. I had the Jets versus the Blues. I had the Jets winning that series. Stars versus Avalanche. I had the Avalanche winning that series. Then the Avalanche versus the Jets play in the second round. The Avalanche goes ahead and takes the Jets for me. Then I had the Golden Knights versus the Minnesota Wild. Golden Knights win that round. And then the Kings versus the Oilers. Oilers win. Second round, you have the Golden Knights versus the Oilers. For me, I picked the Golden Knights. So I have the Golden Knights versus the Colorado Avalanche in the conference finals in the West. For that, I'm going to go ahead and pick, crazy to say, but I'm going to pick Vegas. I'm going to go 7 games for that one. So I've got Vegas sitting there waiting to go to the Stanley Cup final in the West. Tanner, you had the Jets versus the Blues. The Jets won that series. You had the Stars versus the Avalanche. The Stars won that series. So you had the Jets versus the Stars, and then you picked the Jets. So then we've got Golden Knights versus the Wild. You picked the Golden Knights in that one. And then you had the Kings versus the Oilers, and you picked the Oilers. So you have the Oilers versus the Golden Knights. And who wins that series for you? Because whoever wins that series goes ahead and hypothetically takes on the Winnipeg Jets, correct?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Oilers in 6. I think if they win that matchup, I think.
Wow.
I know it's crazy. But I want to have a different conference finals than you. That's kind of the reason. But also, I think if McDavid starts to get going, it's gonna be scary. And like I said, we've already seen what
Jesus mode.
4 nations, 4 nations. You watch that and you're like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? So, no, I like it. I think that's going to be a banger of a series. It's got to go 7 as well. So I got to, I'll pick Edmonton, but again, it's going to game 7. It could go either way. So, but I'll pick Edmonton for the fun of it. And then I'll pick, did you pick your conference finalist, I guess, winner?
Yep. I have Vegas going to the Stanley Cup in the West.
Yeah. So we'll say, on my side, we'll go Winnipeg. That'll be conference final with Winnipeg and Edmonton. I like Edmonton going back to the conference finals. In Winnipeg, I think, like I said, I've just kind of praised them this entire podcast. So I feel like it would make sense for them to be my Stanley Cup representative from the West. So I like Winnipeg. I think they're really good right now. It's hard to stop them.
There we go. The Eastern Conference now. We have the Toronto Maple Leafs versus the Ottawa Senators. I can't wait to see what Brady Tkachuk does, especially you're talking about Four Nations. That's the
Mhm.
guy the Tkachuk brothers came out and just put the world on fire and did so many different things and grew the game in the NHL, which was awesome. I'm going to go ahead and go the Toronto Maple Leafs here, though, and I'm going to go ahead and put this one over in 6 games. Toronto's got a lot of firepower with William Nylander, Austin Matthews, Tavares, Mitch Marner, and Mitch Marner's playing for a contract year. Their goalies are pretty solid. Their defense is a bit shaky, but I think their goaltenders with Stolars and Wall are probably the best that they've had going into playoffs. So historically, the big guys haven't shown up in Toronto. Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and Mitch Marner need to get going. Mitch, out of those guys, has the most points, but I think all those guys just need to show up. And then the Leafs, who knows what happens if the Leafs
Mhm.
actually show up like that with those big guys. But I got Toronto in that series by, I would say, by 6 games would be the most I would go. Who do you have in Toronto versus Ottawa?
I'm gonna go Toronto as well, but I'm gonna go Toronto in 7 just because I know kind of how this Toronto team likes to play in the playoffs, which is either really good or either really bad, right? So that's kind of why I'm going in 7 here. So I like Ottawa, but I just think, like you said, Toronto's got a lot of talent, and I think they can lean on it. I think if anything starts to go wrong, it's probably in the second round, hopefully, right? So I like Toronto here. I think the star power is just going to be too much in this series. I think it's going to be close at first, but I think they'll pull away towards the end. But I think that game 7 is going to be a good one if it does go to game 7. But I think minimum game 6, absolutely. And I think it's going to be another good series. I think all these series are going to be good, man. It's just going to be ridiculous. So like, yeah, but I think this one's going to be a fun one because it's like you said, it's Brady Kachuk. Like these guys just have no, they just hit you, and it's just like, all right, here we are. And this is
Yeah,
playoff
the
hockey.
first round.
This is playoff hockey.
Exactly. It's playoff hockey. It is the hardest trophy to win, in my opinion. So we both have Toronto moving on in that series. I'm going to let you go ahead and pick this series first. On ESPN, Tampa Bay is actually favorited. But do you see the Lightning or do you see the Florida Panthers winning this series, the Battle of Florida? This is another series,
Mm-hmm.
the one we just got done talking about. We got the Canadian teams going against it. Now we got the Florida teams going against it. So who do you got in the Lightning and the Panthers?
I'm gonna go Panthers because I feel like I have some loyalty to them at this point since we went to a home game. I think that was pretty sick, and we got some. Here we got Mr. Chad with the puck.
Game used puck there, dude. Columbus Blue Jackets, no big deal. 2022. Shouts out. Good draw.
Heck yeah, dude. But yeah, I got Florida here. I think they got Brad Marchand.
Mm.
They're throwing him on in the playoffs. He's going in the playoffs. Come on.
And guess what? Paul Maurice, the head coach of the Florida Panthers today. They're all good to go.
Exactly.
Chucky is back. If
How-
you put
y-
Matthew Tkachuk, Sam Bennett, and Brad Marchand on a line,
Come on. What are we talking about here?
what are you supposed to do?
Yes.
How do you win?
Yeah, give me Florida. I'm going Florida, but I'm going Florida in 6. We'll put them in 6 because I do respect Tampa Bay. I think they're a very good team, but I like Florida, man. I mean, they just got this spunk. They got this chip to them. I think after winning the cup, and after that trade too, they're just like, hey, guess what? We're not dead. In fact, we're back and we're better than ever. So I like Florida in this series. This is going to be I mean, I like it when these like these teams who are like very very close to each other just go at it, and it's like like you said, it's kind of like it's the battle for Florida. So I think that's really fun, and I think it's gonna bring out a lot of tension in this series too. So I think this one we'll get some fightings, some fisticuffs, right? So I like it. I like Florida though. Give me them in 6.
The Lightning, they've got the goaltender with Andre Vasilevsky. Florida's got Bobrovsky. Like you've got the Rats going up against the goal scorers, really. Like you have Nikita Kucherov, who in the Lightning had another incredible season. You've got Braden Point. Like you've got all these guys, Hagel, that are very, very good at scoring. And then on Florida, they just muck everything up. And if you're making here's my thing. Look at how far, like Florida's gone to the Stanley Cup Finals. Like they've recent Stanley Cup winners with last year, and then to the Cup the year before that. I mean, Florida or Tampa Bay has been in the Cup final pretty much the last however many years, right? Like the last 3 years. So for me, it's like this series, like you don't see either of these teams going out in the first round unless they're playing against each other. And it's if you make a trade, like you mentioned, if you're getting a guy like Brad Marchand, you are putting all of your chips in when everybody already thought that their chips were already all in, right? And so for me, I'm going to go Florida as well. I know we kind of want to have different ones, but I don't care. I'm going to pick what I think's going to win. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I'm going to go Florida in this one, and I'm going to go 7 games. But the Lightning, it's going to be close. The Lightning have, like I said, goal scorers, and in my opinion, the best head coach in the NHL with John Cooper. So I think it's going to be 7 games. But with the addition with Brad Marchand, here's my thing: if the Florida defenseman is out for the first couple games. He's suspended, if I'm not mistaken, and he's their top defenseman, their primary defenseman. If the Lightning can steal the first couple games, then this series completely changes. Completely changes. So that's what I think Tampa Bay fans are going to be needing to do. So that means you have the Maple Leafs beating the Senators, and you have the Florida Panthers beating the Tampa Bay Lightning. Who do you have winning in the second series, hypothetically, the Maple Leafs or the Florida Panthers?
This is where it comes. Sorry, Austin. Florida Panthers going to the conference finals. We see another one. The Maple Leafs fall again.
You mean they're gonna go straight to the Cup final? Because there's no freaking way you're gonna have any of these 4 teams beating the Florida Panthers. We're both gonna have the same representative in the Stanley Cup final. I already
because
know it on
Florida's
these.
so good. Like
They're good.
they're so good, and they got better this season. So it's hard to pick against them. And it's I mean, narratives are one thing, right? But you look at the roster. I mean, if that's a Florida in Toronto series, that's going to be an absolute like. What wins at the end? Because you were kind of talking about in this Tampa Bay series, like goal scorers versus kind of mucking it up, but like who wins in like a goal scoring versus like pure like talent or like finesse kind of on that offensive side of the puck, right? Because I feel like Toronto's just got so much talent and so many ways to kind of to score goals right in that offensive half. So I like I like Toronto. I like what they do, but I just Florida's gotten better and they just know how to kind of win in these grimy long series. So I like them over the course of a 7 game series, especially after a really physical first round series with Tampa Bay. So I gotta pick Florida, man. I
You're
gotta.
going you're going Florida over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Look, I'm gonna go Florida over the Toronto Maple Leafs as well
Why not? Like, there's
in
no reason.
7 games. Like I think it's goes 6. I think if it goes 7 games, I think that you could have a big problem there with Toronto because all it takes is one of those 3 to get going. But at the same time, again,
I don't care
we've
if it
said
goes
it. You've
7.
got all the rats in Florida,
Goes
so we've
6,
both
goes
got Florida
7.
coming out
It's
of that
Florida.
series.
6 or 7, it's Florida.
Yeah, there you go. So we're both gonna have Florida coming out of that one. We've got the Capitals versus the Canadians. I'm actually going against the grain here. I'm going Canadians in 7. I think that even though the Canadians it was sketchy that they almost didn't make the playoffs. It came up to the last game of the season for them at least, and they did. It was them or Columbus. Wanted to see Columbus in there so bad, but the Canadians are in there and other Canadian teams being represented. And here's the thing with the Canadians: they got this kid Demidov, Cole Caulfield's hitting on all cylinders. Nick Suzuki is proving he's an all-star and more, potentially a franchise player at this point. So for me, the Canadians had a hot run in the playoffs a couple years ago. I could see. I'm not going to necessarily say they're going to make that big of a run, but I think I could see them beating the Capitals because the Capitals have stumbled as
Mm-hmm.
of late. And
Mm-hmm.
Ovi got that goal, got the most goals in NHL history, and just continues to pile on. But I just don't. I don't know, man. I think that the Canadians could edge out this series. But again, this first round is going to be a grueling first round, as you can see. There's only one series so far that we haven't picked at 6 or 7 games. So for me, I'm going to go 7 games in this one, and I'm going to go the Canadians over the Capitals. Who do you have in the Capitals versus the Canadians?
Since we've picked the same exact teams on this side, we'll go Capitals. But I think just the Capitals are the fun pick, right? With Ovechkin breaking the goal record, right? So I think that's going to kind of help that team now that that record is kind of off their back, right? It's like, okay, we did it. It's done. It's not going into next season. We can kind of focus on this one thing right now. So they've kind of checked that box off their list already, and they're like, okay, now we're moving on to the playoffs. Now we're getting into playoff mode. Like I think it's gonna kind of help this team kind of galvanize and be like, okay, we did something amazing right this season. We were a part of something that is extraordinary, spectacular. So let's kind of keep that run going, and I think it's gonna kind of help them in this series a little bit, and I think it's gonna kind of give them a little bit of extra firepower, if I'm being honest, because it's just like, oh man, we've got, the greatest goal scorer in the history of hockey on our team right now going up into the playoffs. So hopefully, Ovi continues on his run that he's been doing this season. even though it's the playoffs. But I think he's going to be even more motivated to kind of continue this run that they're on this season. So I know it Montreal's, it kind of favors these teams who have been kind of, on the almost already in the playoffs, right at the end of the regular season, because it's like you have to win this game or you're not making it, right? It's a win or go home type situation. So they've already kind of been in a playoff mode already with Montreal. But I think on the other side too, you can kind of say that it's a little bit of what's the word, like they're tired, not necessarily already fatigued, absolutely, thank you. So I think a little bit of fatigue coming into the series from Montreal, maybe a little stress from the end of the regular season. So, and the Capitals are like, all right, we just did something great. So maybe that could be a bad thing, towards that series. But I think Washington wins it. But I'll give Montreal their cake and let them eat it. Well, they don't get to eat it. They'll have their cake though. They can get the cherry on top. So we'll give them 7. But I'll get the Capitals in 7 because it's going to be a fun series. And I do agree, like you said, I think at times this point, especially in the back half of the season, we've seen the Capitals just kind of like, oh my God, Ovi got a goal, but they lost 5-1, and it's like, okay, I mean, that was cool, but like we should be winning games, but like, again, that took precedent as it should have. And I think they can just focus straight on the playoffs now. So I like that. I like the Capitals in this matchup, but I could see it going the other way. This one, I'm not too sure about.
So you got the Capitals, I got the Canadians coming out of that game in the East, and then the next series and last series is the Hurricanes versus the Devils. The Devils, if they had Jack Hughes, maybe I go an opposite direction, but the Hurricanes for me, I'm gonna pick them in this one, and I don't think this one goes 7. I think that the Devils are hurt too. They have a lot of guys that are injured, probably the most, if I'm not mistaken, out of all these teams that are going to be playing. I'm gonna go Hurricanes in this one. I'm gonna go Hurricanes in. You know what? I haven't picked a sweep. I'm going to go Hurricanes in 4. I'm going to go Hurricanes in 4, and then they're going to be playing the Canadians. I'm going to go the Hurricanes in 5 against the Canadians. And then we've got then that would hypothetically mean in the conference finals for me, I would have the Florida Panthers versus the Hurricanes. And get ready, Florida. We're going back to the Stanley Cup final as a representative in the East. And I think that series would go 6 games max. So those are going to be my picks on the East. Tanner is going to finish it up here. The Hurricanes versus the Devils. Who do you have in this series?
I'll go Hurricanes, but I'll go 5. I think this is kind of this little quadrant, kind of this bottom right quadrant, or like I guess wherever you want to look at it. But we're looking at it from NHL.com, right? Is kind of it. It's the easiest, I would say, kind of road to the conference finals with Washington, Montreal, Carolina, and I don't think Carolina is gonna take it out or gonna lose here. I think they're gonna go, and I think I'll agree with you. I think they go on to the conference finals, but I'll put them in 7, or I'll put them in 6 against the Capitals, which I did pick in the previous round. But I'll stay on it too. I think Florida, is coming out of this conference. I really do. I just they have so much, like, again, they've just gotten so much better. We've just praised them so much already. So I like Carolina. I think that it's going to be a hell of a series in that conference finals, but we'll say 7. We'll say it goes to 7, and then Florida goes to another Cup final.
There we go. So that is what we got for hockey. We got the West and the East. So we have the Florida Panthers for you against the Winnipeg Jets, right? Yeah, against the Winnipeg Jets. And I have the Vegas Golden Knights. Do what?
I said that'd be a fun final.
That would be a fun Stanley Cup final. And then I have the Vegas Golden Knights versus the Florida Panthers. Because I'm in Florida, I'm going to go ahead and pick Florida here, boys. We got Florida in 7. That's what
the rematch.
Stanley Cup
champion
Florida Panthers.
The rematch. Florida 3 times in a row, and then they get they get the monkey off the back. They exercise their demons from the first playoff series.
Well, here's the thing: you've got Brad Marchand, who's on a contract, and you've got Sam Bennett, who's on an upcoming contract. So it's like you got to pay one of them.
True.
They got better, like I said. It's hard to go against them. That series goes 7 easily for Vegas and Florida for me, and that's like Vegas is a massive team, and Florida's a massive team that's chippy. You know what I mean? So it's like it's so hard to pick against those guys. But
it's like who's going to win a
rock 3 years in a row? That's got to be a record.
Mm-hmm. It's like who's going to win a rock or a hard place at that point, right?
Nice. Nice. That felt good. That was a good one. So you would have the Jets versus the Panthers. Who do you got winning that series?
Just for fun, I'll go Winnipeg because I think they're a hell of a team. I'll go Winnipeg, even though that one's going to go to 7.
That'd be crazy.
There's no way it does.
That'd be crazy, dude. Winnipeg at 7 against the Florida Panthers because I picked Florida Panthers. I'll take it. You know what I mean?
Why
All right,
not?
that was some good hockey stuff. That was fun. All right, we got basketball. Basketball is going to be a little bit quicker because, as you know, if you're a bettor, I wouldn't listen to my takes on this whole basketball thing. I'd kind of go Tanner's way.
I don't know about that. I think Chat's got some good takes.
I mean, I appreciate that. He's going to ask for something, guys. I'm just kidding. I'm totally just kidding. He's going to be like, hey, dude. I'm gonna need you to have the Lakers lose in your games. I'm gonna be like, you're insane. You know what I mean? You're insane. Okay, we're gonna start with the West. We got the play-in game tonight. The Mavericks versus the Grizzlies.
2 of them. Well, I guess in each conference, but
yeah, and we were starting off with the West. Look, I'm just gonna keep it short and just say Ja. And I'm gonna go Memphis in the play-in game. I'm actually gonna have Memphis go ahead and taking Dallas, which would then mean they would play the number 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Give me Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Yeah, Shaw, dude. Give me him, and give me OKC. And that one. If it's OKC versus Memphis or Dallas, I got that one in 4 or 5 maximum. So that's gonna be mine. Who do you got in the play-in game, and then who do you got who plays the Thunder?
So we got with the play-in. The only question I kind of have on this game is how well is Ja going to be playing? Because we kind of saw him in that previous play-in game. He got a little hurt. He got a little banged up. So, and he did finish the game, but it was kind of like he came back in and you could tell like he wasn't kind of pushing to the rim. He wasn't, pursuing that contact and trying to initiating that contact. He was, going to the rim, kind of stepping back, open jumper kind of feel. And he's playing well. Like he's getting points on the board, and they're good shots. But like Ja Morant at 80% is almost like a Ja Morant at 50% because of how athletic and how physical he does play, right? And if you take away that physical part of his game, it's almost like he's a different player. I'm not saying that he's not, skillful in any other assets of his game, but I think that physical nature is what makes Ja Morant, right? That's, he's attacks the basket. And then when he's not attacking, he's like creating opportunities for others to do that. So I think it kind of, this offense runs around him and Jaren Jackson. And if you don't have half of that formula, I think Jaren's a good player, but I think it's going to be tough to lose to the Mavericks, but again, the Mavericks, like they've been playing really well recently. And I think they're a lot better than the whole narrative has been kind of saying. So I'm going to go Grizzlies here. But I think it's going to be a close series. I think the Mavericks are a much better team than people think. I think AD is always a guy who's going to show up in a game like this, the biggest lights, maybe not the biggest, we'll say like the 4th biggest, but he's still going to show up, and he's going to be that role player for the Mavericks in this game. So it's going to be interesting. I'm going to be locked in on Zach Edey in this game because Zach Edey, I know you got boards. We know he's got boards in this game, but what is he going to do against Anthony Davis? That's kind of my question. I get it, he's a young player, but you like to have these tests. You like to have these kind of benchmarks for these young guys to see how they play in these big games against big players. So we know AD's going to be fine. But if Memphis doesn't control the boards in this game and the Mavericks get off early and their rebounding is insane, you could easily see the Mavericks get out to an early lead in this game, and it's going to be a struggle for Memphis to stay in it. So, especially with that lack of physical nature from Ja. All that being said, I got the Memphis Grizzlies in this matchup, and I think they go into OKC, and unfortunately they lose. I know that was a long rant for them just to lose, but no one's beating the Thunder. Either of these teams who come out of this matchup are not beating the Thunder. I will give them 6 games, absolute max for either of these teams. If it's the Mavericks, it's a max 5. No offense. If it's the Grizzlies, it's a max of 6. But that's considering Ja playing like every game, and he looks like Ja Morant. I just don't think there's. OKC's got the best record in the NBA for a reason, and they've got historically a very good record in the past, however many years. So I like OKC in that series, and it's. Unfortunately, the team who kind of fell to this position in the play-in was going to have to be the one who gets knocked out. We had 9 teams who were really, really good, but it's like someone getting knocked out. Someone's not going to be doing it for the entire time. So, but with the 8 teams that are left, I think the Grizzlies will probably be that first team to fall. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough
There
for
we
them.
go. That's so we both have the Thunder coming out of that series then. Okay. So
Yeah,
that
easily.
if you picked against the Thunder, I was going to say I need you to go into like an hour and a half explanation because you're a psychopath. All right. The next series in the West, we got the Nuggets versus the Clippers. This one's going to be quick. I got the Nuggets. Then that would hypothetically mean the Thunder versus the Nuggets in the next series. I'm going Thunder in that one. The Nuggets, for me, I know they've kind of fallen as of late, but I just can't bet against Jokic. And if Jamal Murray gets hot in the playoffs, like how do you defend those guys? So for me, I'm going to go Nuggets in that one. I think it's going to be actually a little bit quicker than a lot of people think. I'm not giving Clippers the respect they deserve, but I'm going to go 5 games in that one. And then I'm actually going to go the exact, not opposite way, but I'm going to go 5 games in the next series versus the Thunder and the Nuggets as well. Who do you have in the Nuggets versus the Clippers in this first round?
Nuggets Clippers, we got our 4 and 5. So this is like theoretically the best matchup on paper, even though I mean all these matches are amazing. So the West is an absolutely loaded conference, but the Nuggets just fired their GM and head coach, right? So Jokic is the coach? Question mark. He's throwing up
And GM.
plays. Um, Jamal Murray, what's going on with him? Is he going to be in this series? Like, what's going on with his availability? I know he hasn't been playing the last back half of the season, so the Nuggets don't look good when Jamal Murray's not playing. I'm going to be completely honest, and if Jamal Murray's not playing the majority of the series, I don't think the Nuggets win this, and I don't think it's that competitive. I know they have the Nuggets have the best player in the world, and his name is Nikola Jokic. That much is very true. But he does try it. He can't be in an NBA team by himself. He is like one of the highest usage players in the NBA. He's this offense revolves around him and the defense as well. This entire team revolves around Jokic. He is the distributor of the ball, but when he doesn't have Jamal Murray there, I just don't have a whole lot of confidence. I mean, this guy dropped like what was it, like 60 20 20 in a loss, and they lost in like overtime or double overtime or whatever it was earlier this season. So that's my big thing. And the Clippers are playing really good ball right now. I think they've been going. Yeah, what's up?
I just looked at the status. Jamal Murray came back a week ago
Mhm.
and dropped 15 and is like a full go. So Jamal
Cool.
Murray's like a full go right now as of ESPN.
Okay, we'll see how he continues into the playoffs. So that's my big thing. Obviously he's had time off. You know, he's been out for a while, so it's gonna be interesting to see how he's gonna get up into that game speed. So I'm still going Nuggets. I'm not going Nuggets here. I'm still going Clippers here. I know it's kind of crazy, but I think the Clippers are a really good team right now. I think James Harden is not, playing at the James Harden level that we all know and love, but I think he's still a very good player. Kawhi Leonard looks like he hasn't fallen off, and he's been there and he's done this before. He's single handedly kind of brought a team a championship after he left the Spurs and went to Toronto. So I like this Clippers team a lot, and they've been playing really well. In this last part of the season, they've been climbing, and that climb was one of the reasons they kind of stayed out of that play-in. And you saw them play the Warriors in that last Sunday game of the NBA season, and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is just, if he's not available, if he gets hurt in any part of this series, then no, they don't win this series. But he's that difference maker. He's the guy that can absolutely change a series, and I think he's going to change this series, and I think he's going to get the Nuggets. Or I keep saying the Nuggets. He's going to keep getting the Clippers to win. My body just doesn't want me to pick the Clippers, I guess. But I got the Clippers, and I'll go the Clippers in 6. I'll go them in 6 because if Jamal Murray is present for that whole series, then easy. I mean, they're gonna be a very good team, but I just don't know what type of, he's just been out for so long. Like where, like he's good, but like it, there's a mental part of that thing as well, right? Like physically he's okay, but he hasn't been playing for a while, So and there's no coach. Like I don't there's no coach. So it's tough for me to pick the Nuggets. A lot of things are kind of pointing against them right now. So it's tough, man.
So you have the Nuggets winning, or you have the Clippers winning in that series. Who would you have
You did
winning
it too
in the conference semifinals?
in the conference semifinals.
Would you have the Clippers or the Thunder winning?
Oh, do they play after that? I guess.
Yep.
I got Thunder. I mean, it's not. I just can't pick against OKC. It's hard.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of explanation, but I'll go OKC in 5. Sorry, LA, but it's just OKC's. They're just not bad anywhere on their team. So
That's where the luck runs out for LA. But another LA team that the luck is not going to run out is in the first round, and that's the Lakers, right? The Lakers got Luka, got LeBron, got Austin Reeves. We're out here just rocking and rolling. That's my squad. No, I didn't just jump on the bandwagon when we got LeBron. I've been a fan of the Lakers. Man, I remember those real dark days, and then I remember when Kobe came, and it was like, whoa, this is sick. You know what I mean? Him and Shaq were unbelievable, and made me fall in love with the game of basketball. Man, it's incredible. But I got the Lakers in this series. I do think Anthony Edwards though is going to be a big problem. For me, I'm going to have Lakers in 6 in this series, and then I'm just going to go ahead and kind of finish off the West on my side, and then I'm going to give it to Tanner. Then you got the Rockets and the Warriors in the next series. Houston's actually favored in that series, barely. Screw that. We got Warriors in 7. They're the 7th seed. They're going 7. They got Jimmy Butler. So I'm going to go the battle of California. We've got the Lakers versus the Warriors in the conference semifinals. Are you joking? It's me. Of course I'm going to pick the Lakers. You know what I mean? So then you've got the Lakers in 7 games, we'll say, against the Warriors, because it's going to be just a back and forth with Steph and LeBron and Luka. It's going to be great. And then you run into a buzzsaw like OKC. Just kidding. Lakers are going to go ahead and beat OKC in 7-2. We got the Lakers that are going to be the West representatives for the NBA championship, in my opinion. All right. That's my West finish. Tanner, Lakers and Timberwolves in the first round. Who do you got, Lakers and Timberwolves?
I'm going Lakers. I think we got Luka, we got LeBron. I think this team is going to be fine. And the Timberwolves have kind of been a team that's like hit or miss kind of recently. I think Anthony Edwards is a fantastic player, but there's parts of this team that just I feel like just gets off to slow starts. They just don't look like themselves in certain moments. It just looks uncharacteristic at points. You think that this team would be like a very physical team with Anthony Edwards kind of leading this whole thing. So I'm just not seeing that a whole lot as much as I want. So I think the Lakers are going to be just fine. They're going to get their shooters. It's going to be an absolute air raid from the Lakers. So I don't think they're really going to care how the other opponent plays. So I think Luka's going to be just fine. I'd be curious to see his stats, kind of how he likes to play against the Timberwolves. But Luka in the playoffs is another beast, and now he's got a new team to represent in the playoffs. So I mean, he made the finals pretty much single-handedly last year. Kyrie was there too, you know what I mean? But Luka was the main. He's the show. It's Luka. So I can't pick against him here. I think the basketball gods are kind of on their side, and especially this season with the Lakers, as they always have been. So I think they win this one, but I think I'm gonna go with 6. I'm gonna go in 6. I'll go. No, actually, I'll go in 5. We'll go Lakers in 5, because I think the Lakers are a really good team with this new Luka addition. So I got Lakers in 5, man. But going to the Warriors and the Rockets. Now this one, I think I'm going to go against the grain with you. I'm going to go Rockets here. I know the Warriors. This is if you're going to watch a series, watch this series. Because I think this one's going to be the most entertaining out of all of them. I think the Rockets are kind of a slept-on team, even though they're the 2 seed. I don't know. I don't know where's the doubters. Where are the doubt? Come on. These guys are playing really well. These guys are playing really good basketball right now. The Rockets. Jalen Green is absolutely fantastic. Jabari Smith. Amen Thompson. These guys are just fantastic. They're playing at such a high level right now. I love Jalen Green. I think should have been a lot more talked about this season than he was, but I think he's having a fantastic year, and I think that, like I said with Amen Thompson, I think he's been such a valuable player for this franchise this season, because he's just been doing so much of the dirty work, so much of the he's been that guy who's going to come in and just take down a player. He's just going to lock someone down. I'm not saying he's going to, lock down Steph Curry or anything in this matchup, but I think he's going to play some really good defense, and I think the Warriors are going to have a really, really tough time moving the ball around this Houston team, because I just think they're defensively very, very sound. Now, that being said, the Warriors defensively are also a very good team. I mean, Draymond Green is on the short list for the Defensive Player of the Year right now, which at his age is fantastic. You don't see it too often. So I like Houston, though. I think that they just have the firepower. I think it's going to be a banger of a series. This one's going 7 easily, and it's going to overtime in game 7. It's one of those games. It's going to be a banger, but I got Houston moving on. I think that this game is going to kind of put the demons to bed from that previous series in the conference finals when when the Rockets, the historic 3-point shooting team with James Harden, just laid the biggest egg I think I've ever seen in a conference finals game against that Warriors team, and then the Warriors went on in 2018 to the NBA Finals. So I think they're kind of this is a completely new roster, completely new team, completely new play style. I think the Rockets are back, and I think oh my god, I didn't even mention Sengun in Shengun. So I think he's gonna have a fantastic series too. Like this team just has so many stars, you just forget who's on this team. And Dylan Brooks too, he's been having a fantastic year. So Steven Adams, he's playing well too. You know, so all these guys, like they got so many good guys. I got Rockets starting five is better than the Warriors starting five in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
So you got the Rockets then against the Lakers. Who do you have winning that series?
We're gonna go Houston. We're gonna go Houston. Sorry, Lake Show, but I just think Houston's such a complete team right now. I know it's not fun. It's the number one and the number two teams, but I think they really are the two best teams in the conference. And this is a loaded conference, though. It's tough. You know, it's gonna be tough. But I mean, you have the Rockets. They just have so many players. They have so many depth guys. I just don't know if the Lakers are going to be able to hang around for a 7-game series with these guys. LeBron, absolutely. Luka, absolutely. But like, their style of play, they have one style of play, right? And that's kind of that air raid kind of. It's like the trend of the league at this point, but it's more of that outside game. You know, I'm not saying that they're not playing physical. You got Luka, you got the lobs, you got that whole kind of game underneath. But I just think Houston can kind of hit you from anywhere, and defensively they can play any style. So and they can kind of defend any style. I just think these guys that they have can defend in so many different ways. They're just so lanky, they're so big, they're so physical, and I think that's going to really struggle. Really make the Lakers struggle, especially with that lack of kind of a finish game for the Lakers right now. So I like the Rockets, man. I think we're going to have OKC and the Rockets as our conference finals. But if that does happen, I'll take OKC to go to the finals, just because. I mean, it's no fun, number one seed in the finals, but it's OKC. I think they're the best team in the West, and it's not even close. You know, there's not much to be discussed. I mean, Shea's probably going to win the MVP, you know, and nobody's even talking about everyone else who's doing so much on that roster with Jalen Green, you know, Chet and all these boys. They're just they don't lose.
They are hooping, that's for sure. Okay, so West.
Did I say Jalen Green? I meant Jalen Williams. I don't remember if I said that incorrectly, but yeah, I think they're hooping right now.
So the OKC is your representative in the West, and my representative in the West is going to be the Lakers. Okay, gotcha. So we've got the Cleveland Cavaliers that are the number one seed against the play-in, which the Heat versus the Hawks. I'm going to go ahead and actually take the Heat in that play-in just because I'm going with the Florida theme. Okay. So then I would hypothetically have the Cavaliers versus the Heat. I'm definitely going Cavs in 4 in that one. I'm just going to rapid fire my East real quick. I've got the Pacers number 4 against the Bucks at number 5. I'm actually going to go ahead and pick the Bucks in 7 in that one. So then I would hypothetically have the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Bucks. I'm going to roll with you because I like Cleveland this year because they're number 1. Why not? You know what I mean? I'm going to go Cleveland against the Bucks in the second round, the conference semifinals. I'm going to go Cleveland in 6 games. And then the rest of the first round, we've got the Knicks versus the Pistons, the 3 versus the 6 seed. I'm going to actually go ahead and pick the Knicks in this one as well. I'm going to pick them in 5. And then we've got the Boston Celtics versus the Orlando Magic. The Orlando Magic has had a really good end of the season, and you like to see them back in the playoffs, but I think Boston's too much of a firepower, and they're going to go ahead and win that one in 5. So hypothetically, I would have the Knicks versus the Celtics. I'm going to go ahead and have the Celtics knock off the Knicks, which would be insane. New York versus Boston. That would be such a watch series. And then we'd have the Cleveland Cavaliers. So it'd be the number 1 seed Cleveland Cavaliers versus the number 2 seed Boston. In my hypothetical world, the Lakers have already made it there. So why the hell wouldn't I have Boston versus the Lakers, and Lakers win in 7 games and be the NBA Finals champions? That's what we got going on my side. That's what I'm doing over here. And that's where I think most NBA fans would like, not really just Lakers and Celtics fans. I
don't think anyone
that's
would
what
like
I got.
It's like, I don't know if anyone would like that unless you're a Lakers.
Celtics. I got a lot of buddies.
I don't even know if Celtics fans or Lakers fans would like that, because the fact that
Boston versus Celtics would be sick.
I mean, it would be sick, don't get me wrong, but like, you know, maybe we get the, if you're like a Lakers fan, maybe we get Boston like first round exit. Maybe you're for Celtics fan, maybe get Lakers first round, type.
Yes,
You
of
kind of want
course,
that,
of
right?
course. Of course, of course. Well, go ahead with your East because I just rapid fired mine, and I've got an NBA champion over here, and it's the Lakers. You know what I mean?
While I
You
go
kind of probably already saw that coming.
when I go on this first series, can you research for me? Is Damian Lillard going to play? And how much is he going to play in that Buck series? Because I think that's obviously a pretty big indicator on who I'm going to pick in that series. But I'm tasking you with that before we get going here. But I'll start with Cleveland, and I'll start with whoever they play, because it doesn't matter.
He is cleared. He is cleared of a blood clot, ramps up for return, but he is sidelined for game 1 right now.
Okay.
So that's the update on him. Good luck with that update.
Okay. Well, that means he's not playing game 1, right? But we'll keep it short with Cleveland. I think they win this. I just don't. I'll say in 4 as well because I don't really think it matters if it's the Heat or if it's Chicago, right? Or who are they playing? But
it's the Hawks. The Hawks versus
right.
the Heat.
Yeah, that's right. Because Chicago lost to the Hawks. Yeah, it doesn't matter or whatever those two, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who they play. Cleveland's going in 4. I think the Heat would probably be the team that would give them the most trouble in this matchup, just with Bam he's playing really well right now, and they've got some shooters over there in Miami. Duncan Robinson is what his name, and Tyler Hero. But I mean, Cleveland's just an absolute bowling ball right now. But they'll win in 4. We'll move on to the Bucks and the Pacers series. Now, this one's going to be interesting because if it depends on how long Damian Lillard is out, right? Let's say he's out game 1 and he plays the rest of the series. That's kind of the assumption I'm going on right now. I think the Bucks win that series. I'm also going to go it in 7. But if Damian Lillard doesn't play like half this series, I think the Pacers win it. I think it's kind of we talked about earlier with how in hockey how New Jersey kind of had some guys that like half their team is just gone. You know what I mean? That's kind of I kind of consider Damian Lillard half of the Milwaukee Bucks, the other half being Giannis. But if they don't have Damian Lillard, I'm going to pick the Pacers in this series because I think the Pacers are a really good team. I think Halliburton's playing fantastically right now, and I think he's just been an excellent distributor of the ball his entire career. And I think he's the type of guy that it doesn't slow down in a 7-game series. And I mean, he did this I think he did this to the Bucks earlier this year too. He had a fantastic game against them. And it was just like, oh, where did Halliburton come from? Just kidding. He's been here for years. One of those type of situations. So I'm going to go the Bucks in 7. But if Dame doesn't play like half this series, I think the Pacers win it in like 6. So.
Okay. Well, that keep it going. You got the whole East to go. I already finished my East.
Yeah. The Knicks and the Pistons. I'm going to go Knicks here. I think I'm going to go Knicks in 5. I think the Pistons, their time is not now, but I think it's very soon. I like this Pistons team. I like Cade Cunningham. I like what they've been doing. I like the guys they've been drafting, but I just can't pick against Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns in the playoffs. Like, it's just something I can't do, especially in the first round. I can do it later on, and I will. But I can't do it in the first round. I don't think Detroit's quite there yet. I think their head coach is on the short list for head coach of the year based on this whole turnaround that they've been doing. So I like this Pistons team, but I give it a year or two. I just think they need a couple more pieces to add to that offensive starting 5 to see what they can do and see if they can make a little bit more of a difference in a playoff series like this. Because Cade Cunningham, he's not going to be able to, put up. I mean, maybe he can like 50 points a game for the entire series, but he's going to need a little help. Is kind of my point. And I think the Knicks have multiple stars who can kind of put that role and be the role players and star firepower on this series. So yeah, I got them in 5. We'll go to the Boston in the Magic series. I think this is surprisingly a good series. The Magic are a very big team. They're just a big bulky team, and they're defensively very good because of kind of their size. So I like Paolo. I like Franz Wagner, the German boy, and I think they're going to get going in this series. But again, it's not enough for the Boston Celtics, right? I think Boston, defending NBA champions, they kind of pioneered this style of basketball that everyone has been using in the NBA now of late. But I just can't pick against the Celtics here. I think they're going to win it in 5. I think the Magic are, again, they're close. They're getting closer every single year. They keep drafting well, and they keep getting guys in free agency. And I think they're a guy or two away from being easily like a conference champion team, if not an NBA Finals team. I'm not saying they're going to win it, but like having a chance to win it, a contender. I think they're a player away from being a contender right now. I think Paolo's fantastic, and I love Franz. So they're very, very close. But we'll kind of go to that series while it's fresh on the brain. We'll have the Knicks going up against the Celtics, which is kind of more in line with your bracket now. But I'm going to go Boston in this one. I don't see a world in which Boston doesn't make the conference finals. It's tough that New York kind of has to go through them, but I mean that's kind of what happens when you're that 3 seed. So I got Boston in that one, but I'll go in 6 because I think Boston's good, but I mean maybe a little bit of a championship hangover is kind of what I think is going to go over, but they're still winning in 6. You know what I mean? I think Jalen Brunson's going to be good, but it's going to be kind of the same spot as last year. Unfortunately, I think this team didn't really get a whole lot better. I think Cat was a good addition from this offseason. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know if he's enough to kind of put them over Boston hump. You know what I mean? That's quite a big hump with the defending NBA champion. So it's a tough road the Knicks got to go through, but I think Boston just takes care of business in 6 on that one. But the other conference final we have at the top of the list would be the Cavs and the Bucks, which I'm going to take the Cavs. I think they should have made the conference finals last year if they didn't run into Boston. Kind of what's happening to New York this year. I think they're talented enough to make it. Easily, they're the number 1 seed in the East. I think that they've just been playing fantastic basketball. It's going to be an interesting series because you're going to have a lot of it. I mean, Giannis is going to be disrupting this paint if this series does happen. He's just going to be disrupting this the entire time, and we're going to see how good Evan Mobley truly is, and if he should kind of be talked about in the way that he's being talked about. I think it's going to be a really good series for Evan Mobley, and I think he's going to have a chance to really, really play some fantastic basketball across Giannis. So I think that's going to be a good benchmark for him. We kind of talked about benchmarks with Zach Edey in those other series, and this is kind of a benchmark for Evan Mobley. I just want to see him get better, and I want to see him play a 7-game series against one of the best and paint players in the world right now with Giannis. So I got the Cavs in that one, but I'm going to go the Cavs in 6 because I know that the Cavs have kind of like to drop games, and I know they like to drop games against some teams that have a lot of firepower, which is the Milwaukee Bucks with Damian Lillard and playing. So our conference finals will be the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The 1-2 in each matchup. Chad had the 1-3 in the West and the 1-2 in the East, and I got the 1-2 in both. Unfortunately, it's like the Final Four all over again. Unfortunately, sorry everyone. Sorry Duke fans. Unfortunately too. That was tough. But I'm gonna go Cleveland. I'm going to go Cleveland here. I think they make the conference final. It was pretty obvious which one I was going. This one's going to 7, as it always does. And I think if this is the conference finals, Donovan Mitchell is going to be the reason this team makes it to the NBA finals. It has to be. There's no other way Donovan Mitchell. Like I don't give a shit about what happens in the previous 2 series, like the previous 2 rounds. With Donovan Mitchell, I think he's going to play well. I think he's going to be a role player. I think he's going to be an excellent player in the series. But I think this conference finals will be what sets him apart. If it goes my way, if Cleveland wins this series, I think Donovan Mitchell has to be that integral part. I don't think it's going to be an Evan Mobley kind of hand we talked about last series. I don't think it's going to be a Darius Garland series. I think it's going to be an everyone effort. But Donovan Mitchell has to be that, like, the head of the spear, right? Because he's the player that plays well against the Boston Celtics. He's the reason they win in those matchups, especially this past season. You kind of look in how they played in the regular season, and Donovan was the guy who always kind of was like, all right, this team's not playing well right now. We're not playing well. I need to spark this offense, and that's kind of what he was doing. So he's a player that's so talented, and I would love for him to get a championship because it's the spectacle. We got to give him something, right? We got to get him a ring. So that would be OKC and Cleveland in the finals. I'm going Cleveland. I have to, but I think it's just going to be it's going to be firepower. It's literally just going to be firepower. It's going to be, can Cleveland continue to do what they've been doing all season? That's the question. I think it's the biggest question for everyone. Can they shoot as high of can they shoot 3-pointers at a high of a percentage as they have been this season? Can they play as well if they've been playing down low in the paint? It's going to be tough, but I think Cleveland has a little bit of an advantage, in terms of these players, in terms of these matchups, if it comes to this finals matchup. Now, one thing to note too, since OKC has that number one overall record, I think this would be an OKC series technically, right? It would go Game 7 would be in OKC because they would have that tiebreaker, the two number one seeds, but still, I think Cleveland wins it in 7. We'll go in 7, and it's going to be another Cleveland championship. Sorry, everyone. It's coming back to Cleveland.
So you got, of course, me being the Lakers guy taking the Lakers, and you being the Cleveland guy taking Cleveland. Well, hey, at least hockey, we picked a true team that we thought was going to win, right? That works.
Hey, Cleveland's
that's
number
NHL.
one seed, and the Lakers are really good right now. I think the interesting thing about the West is, honestly, I don't think it's necessarily always going to be OKC coming out of this bracket. I think in the East you're probably going to have either Cleveland or Boston coming out. I think that's the expectation from that East. I think the West is literally anyone. Maybe not the 8th seed, unfortunately, but I think 1 through 7 doesn't matter. Like intermatch, like interchange them, because they're all so close. They're all so like the same level of skill. I think it's just gonna be. I think OKC absolutely makes the conference finals, but that conference finals might be better than the NBA finals with how like good those two teams are. If it is Houston, if it is LA against OKC, it's gonna be a banger of a series, and like I said, it might be better than the NBA finals. So that's gonna be pretty much like the quintessential series of these playoffs. I think the winner could absolutely come out of that matchup. But again, I'm gonna go picking Cavs every single time. But the West could be literally anyone. It could be 1 through 7, and I don't think anyone would be surprised.
Well, that is the NHL talk and the basketball talk. This is going to be extremely quick. Champions League, we got Arsenal versus PSG. We've got Barcelona versus Inter Milan. I'm going to be obviously picking PSG here against Arsenal because PSG's my squad. Didn't even see them getting this far. Dembele's playing out of his mind.
Yeah,
Arsenal's playing out of their mind too, but I'm going to go PSG. And then Barcelona has so much firepower, it's just hard to pick against them, even though Inter Milan would be a heck of a story. And so that would mean I would have PSG versus Barcelona. We all know what has happened in those recent Champions League appearances with PSG, specifically against Barcelona. It has not gone PSG's way. But believe it or not, I'm going to have PSG being the winner. Who would have thought it, right? Who would have thunk it? Because it's my squad. And hey, this is the first season without Mbappe, and PSG has potentially, a couple games away from being the farthest they've been in a very long time. So for me, I'm going to go PSG. Tanner, rapid fire Champions League, and then we got to get out of here.
This one, what is that I hear? Saka. Declan Rice. Give me Arsenal in the Champions League final. Sorry, Chad. I just gotta go. I think they're on fire right now. I think that they just can't be stopped. How do you do that in the quarterfinal stage alone? Like, how do you do that in a that felt like a Champions League final. In both of those matchups. Maybe not the second one, but the first one, absolutely, that leg of that first series absolutely felt like a Champions League final to me. I think that they're playing at an outstanding level with Arsenal right now, so I got them going to the finals, man. I think it's going to be interesting in this series, but I just don't know if PSG kind of has that continued firepower that Arsenal does. That I know they do. They've been wanting to win something the past couple seasons. This team is so good. They've rebuilt such a good roster. So I think that they're finally going to get a chance at a trophy. But on the other side, keep this quick. Sorry. Barcelona, I think they're the better team because it's Barcelona. I think that they just have the better stars. I think they have more stars. I think they have younger stars. The whole shebang. I think that they're just a bigger club and they're a better team. So I think Barcelona goes on and wins it. Sorry, Inter. Inter has surprisingly made a lot of really deep runs as of late. So give them a lot of praise. Like they played a really good Bayern roster, and they absolutely won that match. They absolutely won that series. So give them a lot of credit, but the Italians go down here. The Italians, sorry, unfortunately, you're going down here. Not going to make a Champions League final. And I'm gonna have Barcelona winning it. Actually, I know I say praises from Arsenal, but Barca's they've just been so good recently. I mean, I think they're, if not leading, I'm pretty sure they're leading in La Liga right now. And I think the last time they even played El Clasico, they won it, you know. So it's just they've got everything going for them right now. I think that they could easily take home their league trophy and the Champions League trophy, and the Real's gone. There's no one to compete, in my opinion, anymore against them. So I think that they're the front runners, and Bayern also got knocked out in the last round. So there's not a whole lot of contenders. The biggest one I see is Arsenal, in my opinion. I think PSG is a fantastic team. Don't get me wrong, but I think the way Arsenal's playing right now is it's going to be hard to stop. It's going to be hard to stop, and Barcelona is just insane. They're unreal, absolutely insane. So I got them winning Champions League, and that's going to be a good final, though. I think it's going to be a fun final. I don't think it's going to be a bloodbath. I think it's usually entertaining, and I think it's going to be the same this year as well. So Barcelona, we're back again. Let's go. After what is like 6 years or something like that. So
Real's there every year, so it's like, if Real's not there, Barca's there, and La Liga is going to be represented, because you nailed it. They have so many good pieces, and Barca is just an unbelievable team. Like, and if Inter goes ahead and defeats them, you know what I mean, and upsets them, I'm going to be stoked, because hopefully that gives PSG an easier run. But
right.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't want to touch Barcelona right now, and I don't even think Real Madrid does with the addition of Mbappe. It seems like they got worse and Barca got better. You know what I mean? So it's insane. Those teams are so good. But that's it for the sports talk this week, folks. Next week we will come at you with a mock draft, but we'll catch you then. See you then, folks.
Bye-bye.